Hi everybody, it's Jackie Schomburg-Abstract. I wanted to show you guys something because I just finished one of my process art sketchbooks last night. This is my sketchbook. Sorry about my voice, getting over a cold of some kind. This sketchbook has been a good friend to me. I don't have any dates on here, which I should get better at. But for all of my Brave Art and Wellness workshops for the past year-ish, I did a lot of my work in here, aside from the grid journals. That's a separate, I keep my separate grid journal, square journal. But for anything else, for collage, for mark making, this is what I've used. And there's been a lot more collage than mark making, as you'll see. So I do skip pages a little bit so that I can do big centerfold is the only word I can think of to describe this. How about flat lay something? I don't know. I like to use both pages without needing to flip pages so that I can work when things are wet. This is a mark making page. This is just process art. And what process art is not thinking. So doodling, this is with markers, just playing. This is kindergarten, brain turned off, just playing. See what colors you like, see what shapes you like, and just play with it. This is a different class, but same themes. We used water-soluble crayons here. This is more marker. Again, this is just doodling and playing with markers. The next one gets into collage. Okay, so in here, I ended up writing my witness and my intention there. Intention says, I am restful, I am open. I feel my shoulders soften. I relax and take deep breaths. I am safe. So I write an intention before I start art making. And then this is a collage that I ended up making. Hold that a little closer. And that's what came of it. And then we write afterwards, we kind of do a brain dump of sorts and just stream of consciousness writing, which is the witness writing. And it could be anything from your grocery list to, oh my gosh, my dad was so mean when I was 5 and he wouldn't let me have the last cookie, right? Things come up that you would be shocked that come up, but that's part of what helps us process our emotions and trauma and past and present through art making. How do you guys like my coffee cup sketchbook stand, huh? Even matches my shirt. So it's not quite so obvious, even though it's still very obvious. Here's another collage from a similar class. You see that I didn't even finish this one. There's definitely white space. Our goal in these workshops, this is again a collage workshop, is just to paste or tape or glue collage paper to a sketchbook page. That's all the goal is. So if you finish, great. If you feel like it's done, great, but that's not a requirement. You don't have to finish anything. Just work until the time is up, and then we go to writing. Now this one I love. I did not finish it, but I love that it alludes to it saying the real me. And I also love these tickets that look just like a roller coaster because that was how life was feeling to me at the time. And, you know, some blueberries, some cleaning supplies, just felt very fresh. Now, I typically do keep my journaling in a different notebook. But as you saw earlier, sometimes I will mark it here. This is the sketchbook I happen to be using. I like to get them at Home Goods and just see this is all witnesses and intentions, witnesses and intentions. Here's another collage. And I started here on this one, obviously. It says made for more and rest. This is one that I talked about my art sending messages to me about what I needed. And rest comes up a lot. And focusing on myself comes up a lot because typically I focus on everyone else and I'm trying to get better about taking care of myself too. That way, maybe I won't get sick and maybe I won't burn out. I started working on this page, started working here, and ended up running out of time, so I stopped there. I love looking through this sketchbook, and I haven't seen most of these since I made them. This one I thought was really cool. It's almost color blocked. with the greens and blues. And here are some very, very, very thin watermelon radishes. And this is a chandelier that I thought was pretty cool. I like how I matched it up with the radish shape. I like how there's some white here, a little bit of text, some really dark blue. And when I'm making these, I'm not thinking necessarily about composition in any conscious way. Certainly thinking through what I like and what looks good to me. This is another one. I can't remember if I did this in a process art class or I think this is a separate video that I made. So I think I used my jelly plate to set the parameters, and then I collaged on top of that. And the reason that I skip pages like this is so that when I have my next session, I can pull this out if I want to and frame it, sell it, keep it, whatever. But it's easier for me than doing one picture on every page. So this one says it's not complicated. And the not is in parentheses because it usually is. Don't know what that means exactly, but it makes sense to me. So it's a very free experience to make these. There's no, well, the goal is, and I don't really feel it, I don't feel stressed to finish something. I don't feel pressure to make it pretty. It's nice when it turns out pretty. It's always nice. This one says disappear for a while. Again, all these messages I was sending myself without really acknowledging it at the time, or at least not understanding the history and the repetition of all the messages that I was sending to myself. So pay attention to your art. This is my speaking points for today. Here's another one. It just says to me. And this is, I think, was supposed to be ice, but it looks kind of like clear jello to me. Giant mac and cheese for color and texture. It's paddleboarding. I don't know why I'm pointing these things out that you can see, but they felt really good at the time to add to this picture, and that's why I did it. Here's some stools that are upside down. I don't remember exactly what I was thinking in that moment, but if I want to, I can just go back to this and figure it out. Now this one started having lots of words, which is very different than my norm. So how to make a big change. This was on the back of a sheet. I wanted to use this pattern, and this was actually on the back of it. And when I turned it over to put some gloss medium on it, I saw that, and it was like a visceral reaction that I was like, oh, I can't cover that up. So then I tore the paper in half so I could still use this pattern, but also have that phrase. And then grit, determination, strength, balance, no, rest. And this one I talked about in an earlier video, where how I meant this was, all these things, no, full stop, no, I'm not going to do those things. I'm going to rest. That's what I need. But I realized later it could also be read as all of these things, no rest, like do not rest, which I feel like is the normal message that we get and send ourselves. Do not rest at all. Keep working, be productive, get it done, fight through any discomfort, keep going, keep going, keep going. And I really like the message that I got from it, which is just the no, full stop, rest. All right, another one. Dear God, a whole bunch of, I don't know, I was going to say a whole bunch of happiness. It's kind of a bit of a muted palette for me, but I enjoyed the desaturation of it. It just kind of felt more calm and resigned and maybe surrendering with the prayer. Okay, this one, definitely not complete, although I did finish. It just says the short list. And for me, the short list here is all the light things. So put down the heavy stuff, keep a very short list of what's important, and don't worry about the rest. That's not necessarily what I do in practice, but this is my goal, okay? So these are things that I'm telling myself through my art that I need. This I made recently. I really love this one. This to me looks like it says birth real, if you unscramble this, birth real art. And that's always my goal. I thought that was pretty cool that came up because I didn't see it until I was adding the art. I was like, oh yeah. And then this, what does it take to be? This is also when my son was in the hospital, I believe. So I was thinking through like, oh my gosh, life feels so hard sometimes. And I have a lot of privileges and I have time that I could spend with him in the hospital. I didn't have to worry about working another job and trying to make ends meet at that time. I had the luxury of time to be with him. And just imagining if I didn't have that, how much harder that would be. Among a million other things, but that's what I was picturing in this moment. I was so thankful that I could be with Baxter. Here's some writing. So this I made in the hospital. So I wrote intention. I have enough rest. I have enough oomph. I care for Baxter. I care for myself. And then I made this with some materials that I had as a result of being in the hospital. So this is from a takeout bag from a place called Beatrix, which is a restaurant I got breakfast from many days. And this U, so B-U, and also B, we call my son B. And these other words, refresh yourself, love, support, and family. I took this yellow from a Museum of Contemporary Art flyer. I did go there one day when my husband came to give me a break, which was right across the street from the hospital, so that was pretty cool. But I love all the room and all the space and all the green for like the fresh growth. And it also felt very light and hopeful, which is really what I needed. So that was nice. I had big plans to put tons of collage on here, and this is, for whatever reason, where I stopped. I think a doctor came in I had to talk to, and when I came back to it, I decided that it was just done. I liked it like this. All right, this one I made recently, and this is one of my very favorite things I've ever made with words in a collage. So it says fear, but make it fancy. I don't know what it means, but I think it's so appropriate. And I guess when I did that, I was thinking, I was so afraid for my son for a long time. It felt like years, even though it was only, several days, less than 2 weeks. But in my life, when something scary is happening that I can't control, I still want to inject some fun in it, especially for my son, who was a little guy. He's only 6. So he was scared. I was trying to make it fun for him and, play up the positive sides of being in the hospital. So he could have room service from the cafeteria. And he was like, can I get Powerade? Which we never let him have sports drinks at home. And I was like, sure, whatever, get whatever you want, buddy. He was poked and prodded for so long. And he was so pumped about having the Powerade. And I just kind of let the screen time rules and all the other rules go because he needed some fun. I don't believe in rules for the sake of rules. I believe in rules that you need to know when to let up on. So we don't want them drinking all of the food coloring all the time and all of the sugar all the time, but there's definitely a time and a place for it. And this, I think what I got from this was just, I kind of like the sun's rays, and I picture that in the morning when the sun's coming back out, because at this point I knew he was going to be okay. And thinking through summer and all of the wonderful things about summer and the colors and the pool and just all the wonderful hopefulness that was coming. So this one came out of me and it felt very different than all the rest. So this is very, like, this is a big scrap, but it looks like it's nothing because there's just a few marks on it. This is empty, this is empty. And it feels very different than my normal work. Maybe you guys don't see it. I know I still have black and white, a lot of black and white in here, but the colors were so either not all over the place, right? They're pretty sparse, and they were muted a lot of the time. This red that I thinned out with some gloss medium, kind of like a watercolor crayon, and how thin that got after the gloss medium was put on, and just kind of spreading it out. So I don't have what I wrote right here, but I remember this day, and I remember this being the souvenir of a very, for me, powerful art making session. And I spent an hour on this. It doesn't look necessarily like an hour, but going through the process of choosing the pieces and deciding what to put in and deciding where to arrange it, it was a very meditative process for me that time. So whether you like what you've made in process art or not, you still end up with, I just call them souvenirs, right? You have these souvenirs of the process that you worked through, and even if you don't remember exactly what you wrote in your witness writing, at the end, well, at least I'll speak for myself, I still remember the feelings associated with it. I still remember this feeling so happy and so hopeful and so summery. And I really enjoyed this. Oh, you know what? I'm going to go back to this one because now I remember something else. I did this one in, I believe, the Friday night session. There were 6 of us there, and all of us, the prompt that I gave was repetition. So repeat a shape, repeat a color, repeat words, repeat something, and see what you can make of it. And 5 of the 6 of us repeated circles throughout our art that night. 5 out of the 6 of us. And the 6th person actually had circles in his work, but that wasn't what he chose to repeat. But it was phenomenal. We're all on Zoom. We've been working together for a few weeks, just a few weeks, and we all used the same shape to repeat. How weird is that? Those are the cool things that happen in the small groups of the workshop. And it's the stuff that I can't explain it. I don't know how to articulate how or why that happens. And I don't really care why it happens or how. I just think it's so special. And those are the things that when I first started these classes on Zoom, I wasn't sure that it was going to work because we wouldn't all be in the same room. I had previously only done it in person, but doing it online makes it almost more special because in that group, we've got people in Minnesota, Australia, another person in Chicago, people on the East Coast, people on the West Coast, people in Texas, right? All over the place. We can all log into the computer, be with each other for, I don't know, we visit for a few minutes at the start of the workshops, and then we go and we do work, and then we chat again at the end. And 5 out of the 6 of us use circles. Craziness. And all 6 of us use circles somewhere in our art that night. Those are just the special moments that I love. So this one was for a prompt of, I think this was also a repetition. This was also repetition, but I used like the absence of texture as my repeated thing. And I really enjoyed these, just this color blocking steps. I did one drawing area here. I tried to find little pieces to fit into that little slice of openness. And it just, everything was so precise since I cut everything rather than tearing anything. I don't think anything's torn here. No, it's all cut. And I needed something a little bit messy just to give me a little contrast. All right, this one, this I made yesterday morning, and this was, the prompt here was symmetry or reflection. So when we reflect in the mirror, we see ourselves differently than other people see us, because we see the mirror image of ourselves. And that's why in pictures, when you get pictures back, sometimes you're like, this is what I look like? Because we see ourselves in the mirror all the time. Not that I'm hanging out in front of the mirror, you know what I mean? And then when we see ourselves from someone else's perspective, there's just some things that just look a little off, a little different. And this, I was thinking about my husband's and my 10th anniversary, which was this week, and it reminded me of us, right? So we're all made up of the same ingredients, but we come from completely opposite directions when we talk. So our communication is so different. And even though we use the same words a lot of the time, the meanings behind those words are different. In the families we grew up in, words meant different things. They were just defined differently. So even though we say the same words, sometimes there's usually a mix-up somewhere along the way because we're meaning things differently. And that's okay. I feel like both are beautiful, both are complicated, both are very busy, both of these and both of us. And then we come together. We both love water and being in water and being near water. He loves being outside. I love being inside looking outside. And my allergies, which is part of the reason my voice is off. They're very much related, but are they an identical mirrored version of each other? No. And I think that's for the best in life and in art. And this is the very last one that I made last night. Again, this was a reflection or a symmetry prompt. And this one's a bit more obvious than the other one was. And I love the colors. I love the idea. This one's much more like a Rorschach test or a butterfly, because I started in the middle, built to the outside, and didn't finish. But the funny thing is, I decided halfway through I needed some paint. So I put paint here, and I put this big area of paint all the way down, and this big area of paint all the way down, because I thought the page was too white. So what did I do? I added cream. Can you see? You can't even tell the difference on camera between this white space and this cream space. I don't know. These are the things that I don't know why I needed the cream. I needed the cream, and then I didn't finish it. So I wanted to walk you through that. This is a year's worth of work. And part of it for me now is special because in the past I've never, ever filled up a sketchbook. Ever. I have tons of sketchbooks from junior high, high school, college that's the first, 5 pages are done and then the rest it's all blank. I keep going through these and I keep getting more of the same ones. I love that it's a hard copy. I'll post the link to it in case you guys are interested. I do get asked about them a lot. These are just Canson mixed media sketchbooks. I love that I have my souvenirs from all these art making experiences, and I have my words, should I ever want to go back to my words and read what I wrote about them, what I saw, what I felt that day. And if you're curious at all about learning this process and walking through it with me, I do have a free workshop coming up June 14th. There's a morning session, US time, and an evening session. So hopefully anyone who wants to join can find a time that would work for them logistically. And I hope to see you there. This process is such a powerful process that on paper seems too simple, but I can tell you that it's changed lots of people's lives, including mine, and I would love to share it with you. So I'll add a link right up here or up here. I'm still not sure what side the link shows up on. And if you're interested in joining us for the free session, I will give you the link so you can sign up, and I hope to see you June 14th.